Good day, everybody. Glenn Kinsey here, AMP Private Pilot, and I was requested to do a video on how to do an oil change. So we came up on our 50 hours on our Piper 140. It's time to do an oil change. So I haven't got set up yet, but our first step is to do an engine run up. We got to get the oil up to temperature. Once everything's running and good to go, I'll show you the steps from there on. Now that we have an absolute fantastic day today, there's not even a cloud thinking about forming. It is a great day to work on an airplane. This is my plane. It's a 1968 Cherokee 140, November 286 Foxtrot. I've owned it just over a year. I started with 0 hours, got my private pilot's license last year. I'm now to 122 hours. So it has been an absolute blast to have an airplane. So one of the major expenses is you have to do an oil change every 50 hours. And if you have a 145 repair station, it can be up to $250 to have somebody do an oil change for you. As a licensed private pilot, you are authorized to do preventive maintenance, and an oil change is part of that. So I'm gonna go through the steps to show you how to save a little money. So we're gonna jump in the plane and do a run up. All right, guys, here we are, set up inside the airplane, getting ready to do a run up. You want to bring the engine to operating temperatures before you do an oil change. The heat allows the oil to flow better. If it's cold, the viscosity makes it too thick and doesn't really want to flow. So we want to heat everything up to operating temperature before we do an oil change. So make sure I got my key and of course my checklist. All right, avionics is off. Autopilot we don't have. Carb heat is off, mixture full rich. Throttle slight. We will prime. All right. Brakes. And turn master on. Fuel pump on. I'll wait for my pressure to max out. Clear prep. Alright, let's pull back in the hangar. We're out of the direct sunlight. Okay, now that I've got the side cowl open, I'm going to show you where the oil plug is at. We've got the oil plug right there. These quick drains are amazing. I highly recommend get one if you do not have one, because it makes this job super fast, super clean. So I'll start off with that first, show you where I'm going and what I use during the oil change. Is I've got me an oil catch and a 3/8 inside diameter rubber hosing, and I just put that to the quick disconnect, the quick drain, put it in the jug and drain. But we're going to fill it up with W100 from Aeroshell. I use a bottle of AvBlend. I did not bring my 1-inch wrench, so this is going to have to suffice. So you're going to want a 1-inch wrench or a 1-inch socket and ratchet for removing the oil filter. You'll need some 32 thousandths safety wire and a oil filter. I like using safety wire pliers. It makes redoing the safety wire easier, but you don't need them. And then I also do an oil analysis on every oil change. Also not needed, but that's what I do. So this is kind of the stuff we're going to start off with. So the first step is I'm going to get an oil sample for the oil analysis. So opening up the oil analysis kit, this is just a jug, little plastic container that you put the oil in. Piece of paperwork form that you fill out with your aircraft information, because they do log it, and then they'll give you a report back of all your oil analysis that you have done with your aircraft. So it is a record keeping, and then a self-addressed returning label. So all you do is put oil in the jug, fill out the paperwork, put everything in the label, throw it in the mail, and you get the report by email about a week later. So first step, I'm gonna open the jug, and the quick disconnect or quick drain plug that I showed you a minute ago. While everything's still hot, I'm gonna try to see if I can get where you can see. I can't even see. So I just put the bottle and I pick up on it and let the oil drain into the bottle. So I got a little bit of oil. I'm gonna get some more. I'm gonna fill the jug up. Alright, so now I've got my oil sample. So I'm just going to put the lid on it and set it down here on the side for now. And we're going to grab everything else. I'm going to pause the video because I got oil on my hand. So I'm going to wipe my hands. Alright, once I've got the oil sample, then I run my rubber hose that I picked up earlier from the store and plugged it into my oil catch can, and then I run it up through the engine cowling right there by the landing gear, run it through and hook it right into the quick drain. So once that's set up, I pick the quick drain up on the little T-handle and rotate it to lock it into place. Alright, so it's locked into place and the oil is flowing down into my catch jug. So now, since that's done, it is time to remove the filter. So this has a 1-inch nut here on the back for easier removal. First things first is we got to cut the safety wire. These safety wires do have a FOD catcher, so when you cut, it holds onto your FOD. Alright, so now the oil filter is loose. The next trick I like to do to prevent a huge mess is to punch a hole in the filter at the 9 o'clock position, rotate it down, and let the oil drain out of the filter before I remove it. And I'll show you that. So one thing you'll notice, my oil filter is longer than normals. I'd use the 48-111 from Champion. They are cross compatible with the 48-110 in the Champion and Tempest oil filter. This one is longer, but during the oil filter crisis where you couldn't get any oil filters, this was the only one I could find. So it is longer than the normal ones we use. So the CH48-111 and the CH48-110, they are the same filter, but this one is about 2 inches taller. So you can see I put in a little catch cup here below. I'm gonna punch a hole, punch, not cut, because we don't want to introduce metal shavings. I'm going to punch a hole just here in the metal casing, and then I'm gonna rotate it 90 degrees and let the oil filter drain before I remove the filter out the rest of the way. All right, you can see right there where the oil is leaking where I punched the hole. So now I'm going to see if I can one-handedly loosen this filter up. Alright, so now you can see the oil is draining into the cup. Once that stops dripping, I will finish removing the filter the rest of the way. Also, one step I did forget, and we should loosen the dipstick, because that will allow air into the system and allow the oil to flow better. Now we just kind of wait. So very minimal on mess this way. If you take that oil filter without draining that oil, it will drip all down the backside of your engine. Makes a huge mess. And if you're not using the hose, you're gonna have to take your lower cowling off, and then it still will make a mess because I don't believe it's a straight. Yeah, so on here, if you have like a Cirrus or something, those make a huge mess because it goes down on top of the landing gear, and just, it's a mess. That's why I like using the hosing. The rubber hose makes everything simpler and cleaner. All right, now that the oil is finished draining, disconnect the hose, and you can see in the cup, it's pretty full. So now we'll just finish rotating the filter to completely remove it. They're long-winded, and that's why they make such a terrible mess, as they're just a long-winded filter. And I made a couple small drips. It's not perfect, but it does save a lot of hassle. All right, now that we've got the old oil filter and the old safety wire removed, cleaned up a little bit, my cup that was containing all the oil, the old oil filter, so there's all the oil stuff sitting there, and then the oil analysis jug there. So I've already opened up the new oil filter. You can see the size difference from the 110 and the 111. That's why they are interchangeable, but they have the same thread size and pitch. So, new oil. I dumped this over and let a little bit of oil get in the cap. So I'm gonna use the oil, fresh oil, to lubricate the O-ring. And all I did was just dump the oil jug over, open the cap, and this is the residual what's inside the cap. So I'm putting on just a little bit of oil on the gasket. I also filled out my information, the date of the oil change, the tail number, and the hours on the tack. And the next step is just to thread it into place. We just do it hand tight. So we're gonna add our safety wire from this lug in this direction. It's gonna come this way and go to this lug. That way it will not allow the filter to loosen. So I've got my safety wire threaded right here. I'm gonna try to see if I can, I don't know if this is gonna work. Cannot see. Let me give it a shot. We'll see if that works. So I'm going to hand start my safety wire. Doing a tightening twist. Now I'm gonna measure to my spot. So that's going to be close. So what I did there was measure where I'm gonna clamp my safety wire pliers to do the rest of my spins. That's why it makes the job so much easier. So hand twist a couple extra, so I have it twisted all the way to the lug. safety wire is now tight. We will finish with their pigtail. And we cut the excess. And fold it back. All right, so the safety wire is in the orientation to where it will not allow the filter to loosen. It's not there to keep it tight, it's there to keep it from loosening in the case of it does come loose. So starts from the nut lug, ends. So safety wire your oil filter. Now all we've got to do is fill the engine up. We'll close that side to open this side. Alright, so there's the fill tube, filter. And this is all we do. Do my 7 quarts like this. V-tail Bonanza landing. We do 6 quarts in this plane because if you do 7 or 8, it just blows everything out through the bottom. This plane likes to sit around 5 to 6 quarts. So we put 6 quarts in, and if it gets down to 4.5, we'll add a quart. Generally, I add 1 quart every 50 hours. So that's not a lot. That's actually a pretty good oil burn from most aircraft. I have a guy that in his 150, he would put a quart every 10 hours. So 1 quart every 50 is pretty good. This one's number 5. I don't squeeze it because the tube can really only can take so much oil at a time. With this viscosity, it will like blow back if you try to squeeze the bottle, so I let it freely fill. If you can't do this, then definitely get an oil funnel. But this is easy for me. You could also, after your first quart, you could cut this portion off and then use this as an oil funnel. That comes in handy in a pinch. All right, and this is the last quart, number 6. Also, a trick that people don't realize when pouring oil, everybody wants to pour it with the spout down. You're actually supposed to pour it with the spout up. So like when you want to do your initial pour with the spout on the high side, you come in like this. That allows air to enter the jug, and it won't glug. It won't sit there and let the air come rushing in and then the oil rush out. So when you pour oil and it's a new quart, always start with the spout up, because you can get in closer. But see, if I would have tried to do it this way, it would start pouring and then seeping out and going all over the place, and then I can't even thread it. So that's why I start with the port at the top, and then it threads in. See, like it threads into the tube. So like I'm pulling, it doesn't come out, so it's threaded in. So that's why you see me do that. All right. And last but not least, we're going to add this bottle of AvBlend. Some people like CamGuard, some people like AvBlend. I've been told, I don't know how true it is, but I've been told use AvBlend on Lycoming and CamGuard on Continental. That's just a rumor. I don't know. This is what we've been using since I've owned the aircraft, and it works. Now with the AvBlend, you do have to put a entry in your logbook that it is in the oil. So just pour that in there with it. This helps with corrosion. We fly this aircraft enough that we really don't have to worry about corrosion. But a $12 insurance policy on a $20,000 motor doesn't really hurt. Let's see, and I do believe you're supposed to do a run-up after it. All right, so yeah, they recommend adding one bottle of this for 4 to 8 quarts, we put 6. So one bottle is going in. They want the AvBlend to be introduced when the engine is cold, which, you know, cold oil, cold engine, because it's been sitting while it's draining. And then for best distribution, to immediately run your engine. And then you have to comply with the FAR 43 to make sure there's a logbook entry. So this is how you do an oil change on a Piper 140. And same process across all airframes, just different. And it's super, super clean oil, and it's right here. So here's my 6 quart line, and the oil is just above it. Since it's so clean, it is very hard to see. You can kind of see the goldish color, but as it comes to the top, it peaks right here, just over the 6 quarts. And that's where I like to fly, because like I said, anything over 6 quarts, it just pukes everywhere. I hope that was informative, and I hope it saves you some money, because now if you can do your own oil changes, you know, on your own time, it'll save you money in the long run. Please make sure you do recycle your oil. We have an oil recycling canister over there, so I don't have to go very far to recycle my oil, but I do recycle the oil and clean up for the next one. Please leave a comment on if you have any questions, concerns. If you didn't like the way I did something and you have a better way to do it, please let me know. I'm primarily a helicopter mechanic. I've worked on Blackhawks for 8 years, so I'm still kind of new with fixed wings, but I do have my AMP. Thank y'all. Y'all have a blessed day.